Hey, what's up, guys? Do you remember when we were kids and they would give us all these awards in elementary school, like little awards like perfect attendance or for the most sharpened number 2 pencils because number 1 and number 3 never really worked, and you know, like turning in your homework on time, or like perfect handwriting, or whatever, you know, these little awards that we knew they were bullshit awards because everybody was getting an award. But then we would take them home to our parents, and our parents were like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you, my son," and they would tell all their friends, and they would hang it up, and you know, it was meant to give us confidence, and we grew out of that. You know, most of us, we became adults, and then we entered the real world, but they don't really give out awards for bullshit. We have to earn those awards, and that's the way it should be. Except if you're a cop. Now, when you become a cop, you basically treat it to the same award system as the elementary school kids are. They give out awards for every little thing. You know, it's like everybody. If you're a cop longer than a year, if you can survive the probation period without beating somebody up or killing somebody or whatever, then you will start winning awards. And I tell you why they do this. This is why they do this. They do this so when a cop screws up, they can show the judge and the jury that, look, Your Honor, he won all these awards. And then the judge is like, well, you know, he's an award-winning officer. So then they take that into consideration when they sentence a cop for criminal activity, or when they don't sentence a cop for criminal activity. Or, and the jury, of course, is going to buy into it. They're going to be like, oh, well, you know, he won awards, so he's a hero, and yeah, so maybe this is a one isolated incident. You know, we're all human, and, you know, he won an award, so... And then this is what happens. They manipulate the judge, the jury, they manipulate the public. And I'll give you some examples. Okay, there's a man named Earl Brown, 73-year-old security guard in Lauderhill, Florida, which is a city in Broward County in South Florida. And Earl Brown was a security guard at a meat processing plant where he was working the midnight shift, and he spotted somebody stealing some scrap metal, and he called the cops because that's his job. He was doing his job. The cops show up and they kill Earl Brown, a 73-year-old black man, security guard, because they were in fear for their lives. And guess what? They got away with it. They were cleared of any wrongdoing because, you know, the old bullshit of like, oh, you know, you don't understand how it is to be a cop. You know, they have to make split-second decisions. As a 73-year-old man was pulling out a gun, no, he wasn't, and they were in fear for their lives, and it's just the same old. But Earl Brown's family won $300,000 in the settlement. So that tells you something there. But these cops, these Lauderhill cops, Googled the article in my website. They ended up winning awards. Not for that instance, at least I don't think. God, hope not. But they were winning awards for like making an arrest for marijuana. One of them won an award for making an arrest for burglary. Another one he won an award because he pulled somebody over in a traffic stop, and the guy had crack cocaine, so he made that arrest. I mean, come on, this happens all the time in South Florida. And another guy won an award because he busted somebody for having stolen property, iPhones, iPads, you know, the same old stuff. He won an award for that. These are basically routine arrests. This is their job. That's what they're supposed to do. If you give an award to a cop just because he's doing his job, then no wonder he's going to think he's a god. No wonder he's going to think he is the king of the world because he gets an award for killing people. You know, I mean, like Peraza. Let's get to him. Deputy Broward County Sheriff Peter Peraza. He shot and killed a man named Jermaine McBean. Jermaine McBean, he bought a pellet gun at a pawn shop. He was walking home through this little apartment complex. He was carrying the pellet gun over his shoulder. Somebody called the cops and said, hey, check this out, because there's some people who still trust the cops, who still believe cops will save the world. The cops show up, and they say, Peraza says, well, I was yelling at him, and he drop the gun, and all he did was turn around and swung the gun in my direction, and I was in fear for my life, so I opened fire and I killed him. And then he wrote in his report that McBean's headphones were in his pocket. Okay, a year goes by, then a photo surfaces. A woman had taken a photo, and she didn't disclose it for a year because she was feared for her life, but she finally did. And the photo surfaces, and it shows Jermaine McBean's headphones were in his ear after he was shot, which indicates that he was listening to music and perhaps not hearing these orders of drop the gun, because all his friends and family say he just walks around with his music. He loved his music. That's what he did. He walked around with his music. So, you know, and there's nothing illegal about that, to walk around with headphones on. You know, we're not talking about driving a car. So, but then they lied. They tampered with evidence. And so now, Peraza has been indicted. He's been charged with second-degree murder. And he goes to his initial hearing, and all the cops show, all the deputies show up. They pack the newsroom. As the South Florida Central reported, the Brotherhood shows up. The Brotherhood, I mean, come on, how fucked up is that? The Brotherhood and the Central's like bragging about it. The Brotherhood shows up. This is like the mafia. And they show up as a sign of intimidation. They show up as a sign of force, as a show of force. They go up there and they're sending a message to the judge, to the jury, to the prosecutors that don't fuck with us. Because we are cops and we are award-winning deputies. And we will fuck with you because they will. And anyway, I mean, meanwhile, the Sun Central's writing this. Local 10, Broward and Bob Norman, he wrote from the perspective of the victim's family, and they're saying, this is very disrespectful that they all show up and this sign of intimidation. But we're talking about two different types of journalism there. And anyway, so Peraza won an award, and his award was like bravery in the face of danger and protecting the community. He won an award for killing a man with headphones on, basically, as it turns out, as we have photo proof, and lying about it. And also the witnesses were saying he didn't really swing the gun. The same witness who called the cops saying, you know what, maybe they were a little bit over aggressive. Maybe they shouldn't have shot him. He actually regrets calling the cops now. God. And then there's a woman named Major Nancy Perez. She's a Miami-Dade police major. She was a public information officer back in 2012 when she had me arrested at the Occupy Miami eviction. When I was covering the eviction, they were evicting all these protesters, that's back in the Occupy days. And she had me arrested because I wouldn't clear the area when they had the activists clear the area. But I did not clear the area because all the other journalists were there. All the corporate media was there. And I said, as long as the corporate media is there, I'm going to stay there. But the corporate media was embedded with the police department. And I was shooting from the perspective of the protesters. That's my style. That's how I do it. And she had me arrested. She did not like me. She had me arrested. All the other cops were actually cool. The other cops were basically saying that, they left me alone. So I give them credit for that. And anyway, and then she had my footage deleted, and I recovered that footage, and we went to court, and I was acquitted, and she went on the stand, and she lied on the stand. We brought in the camera into the trial, which I know she loved, and we have it up there. If you Google Nancy Perez caught lying, or Nancy Perez lying, Carlos Miller, just Google that. You'll see the video on YouTube. The whole trial is on YouTube. She won an award for that as well, for like the whole occupation eviction, And then I went to find out that they all won awards. Almost the entire Miami-Dade Police Department, at least the high-ranking officers did. And there are tons of them there. There are like hundreds of officers there, and they all won awards, every single one of them, because they did their job. And this woman won an award for arresting me unlawfully and destroying my footage, having my footage deleted, and then going to court and lying about it, committing perjury. It is on video. Of course, she is still a major. She's still an award-winning major, but she is no longer a public information officer because she has no more credibility. And that's the truth, because we prove that. If they want to give out awards, fine. If they want to give the kids awards, fine. But the kids know the awards are bullshit. The cops know the awards are bullshit. So it's time for the rest of the world to know these cop awards are bullshit.